can social media actually give you a hole in the head?
That is, wow, that's certainly a vivid image to kick things off with.
It is, right. But stick with me because that is the exact question looming over today's deep dive. We are actually going back to school today.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I want you to picture a classroom, specifically a nature and innovation class presided over by a Mr. Hendricks.
Okay, I'm picturing it. Rows of desks, maybe a whiteboard, that distinct smell of dry erase markers and, teenage angst.
Spot on. But we aren't just a fly on the wall here. We're viewing this whole setup through the eyes of two students, Kesser and Steen.
Right.
And they're sitting there listening to a guest lecturer. It's a habit researcher who is trying to explain to them, and by extension to us, why we physically cannot put our phones down.
And this isn't just about, kids liking TikTok dances. We are looking at a stack of sources today that paints a pretty alarming picture. We have data from Red Barnett that Save the Children. We have the habit researcher's actual lecture notes, and then we have the internal, somewhat skeptical monologues of Kesser and Steen themselves.
So our mission today is to understand this digital hijack. We're going to find out how evolutionary biology is basically being hacked for profit and why your brain's survival mechanisms are turning against you while you're just sitting on the couch eating chips.
It's a wild mix of neuroscience, behavioral economics, and honestly, a little bit of existential dread.
Yeah, heavy on the dread. But hey, before we let our attention span completely drift, which, spoiler alert, is going to happen faster than you think, I have a crucial request for you listening right now.
Get to it quickly.
Hit the subscribe button on this deep dive right now. Seriously, just do it.
You really might want to hurry. According to the research we're about to unpack, your focus is likely to completely reset in about 7 minutes.
7 minutes?
Yeah, the algorithm's coming for you, so subscribe while you still have some agency over your own thumbs.
Beat the clock, people. Okay, let's get into the classroom. The lecture starts with what I call the starting line. And the data from Red Barnett is, well, it kind of blew my mind. When do you think kids actually enter this digital arena?
I mean, it's earlier than most people are comfortable admitting. The data shows the average age for a child getting their first tablet is 5 years old.
5?
Yep.
That's kindergarten. That's literally learning to tie your shoes age.
And for the first smartphone, the average age is 8.
So by second grade, they just have the entire internet in their pocket. But the research points out something really specific about the age of 9. It seems like 9 is the real tipping point. Why is that?
It's all about the shift in usage. Up until age 9, the screen is usually just a pacifier.
Like an electronic babysitter.
Exactly. It's for streaming TV, watching Bluey, maybe some simple games. It's passive consumption. But at 9, the usage becomes what the researchers call complex.
Complex sounds a bit generous for a 4th grader. Are we talking about them learning to code, or is it something else?
We're talking about the social landscape. At 9, the screen shifts from a TV to a communicator.
Ah, okay.
They start having digital contact with friends completely independent of their parents. They enter these platforms where the goal isn't just to watch, but to navigate a hierarchy, to meet others, and to be seen.
So they go from watching cartoons to navigating a global social network without a chaperone. And this is where the hijack begins, right? Because these platforms aren't just public parks built for their health.
Far from it. The lecture makes a very sharp point about the economic engine driving all this.
The free gift concept. I really wanted to dig into this because on the surface, it sounds simple. Like we all know nothing is free. But the lecture implies there's a much deeper psychological trick happening here.
It's the absolute weaponization of reciprocity. Think about it. When someone gives you a gift in real life, what do you feel?
I feel obligated, like I owe them something back.
Exactly. That is a deeply ingrained human instinct. So when an app gives you a free game or a free platform to talk to your friends or free filters, your brain subconsciously registers a debt.
You feel a need to pay it back.
Yes, but we don't pay with cash.
No, because cash creates friction. If they ask for a credit card, you'd just leave.
Right. So instead, you pay with the only other things you have of value, your data and your attention. You pay by staying on the platform, watching the ads, and feeding the algorithm.
That is so sneaky. It's basically leveraging our good manners against us.
And it works flawlessly. The source material notes a pretty funny observation from one of our students, Kesser. He's sitting there listening to this lecture, and he realizes that most of his peers would rather watch videos on how to become a multi-billionaire in a week than actually do the work.
I loved that detail. Why read a boring statistics book or learn quadratic equations when some guy in a rented Lamborghini on YouTube tells you there's a shortcut?
It's the exact same principle. The free video promises a massive reward for zero effort. It's a highly seductive narrative for a developing brain.
Okay, so we have the setup. Kids are online at 9, they're navigating these complex social worlds, and they're being manipulated by a free gift economy.
Yeah,
But here is where we need to get into the actual hardware.
the biology of it.
Right. The lecture talks a lot about the amygdala.
Yeah, to understand the hijack, we absolutely have to understand the hardware.
Now, usually when I hear amygdala, I just think of fear, fight or flight. But the lecturer explains it's way more than that, doesn't he?
Oh, much more. Think of the amygdala as the brain's bouncer.
A bouncer?
Yeah, it's this almond-shaped cluster deep in the temporal lobes, and it's the security guard for your entire system.
I like that. So what's on the bouncer's guest list?
Survival. The amygdala asks two very basic questions about everything you encounter. Is this going to kill me? And is this good for me?
Right, so it handles the fight or flight response.
Sure, but it also handles emotional memory and social cues. It scans faces to see if someone is angry or happy. It literally triggers your heart rate, your blood pressure, your adrenaline.
Okay, so it's constantly looking for threats and rewards. How does social media get past the bouncer?
You use a fake ID?
Let me guess. Dopamine.
You got it. The lecturer describes this dopamine loop. When you get a like or a comment or a share, the brain doesn't just see pixels on a screen. The amygdala interprets that as social acceptance.
And in evolutionary terms, social acceptance equals survival. If the tribe likes you, you don't starve.
Precisely. This is the ultimate evolutionary mismatch. Nature designed us to hoard things. We are built to gather resources, whether that's berries, wood, or social standing.
Because historically, that helped us survive the winter.
Right, or prepared us for the great migration to better pastures.
But now look at Kesser and Steen in that classroom. Or look at us. We are engaging this deep, primal survival drive.
While just stuck on the sofa.
Exactly. We are hoarding digital approval instead of food. The amygdala thinks we are stocking up for winter, but we're just scrolling TikTok.
That is the hole in the head, isn't it? It's not a physical hole, it's a bypass.
It's a back door straight into your nervous system.
And the lecturer explains that after enough coding, enough repetition of this dopamine loop, the brain actually switches to autopilot.
Autopilot implies I'm not flying the plane anymore.
You aren't. Your free will is genuinely diminished. Your reactions become instinctive. You see the red dot, you click. You feel the buzz, you check. It's not a conscious choice anymore. It's a reflex.
So advertisers aren't convincing you to buy something.
No, they are signaling your amygdala directly.
They're bypassing the logical brain entirely. They're just slipping a $20 bill to the bouncer while the manager isn't looking.
That is a perfect way to put it.
Which is actually terrifying. And the consequences aren't just that we buy stuff we don't need. The source material talks heavily about attention span decay.
This is where the lecture uses the bus analogy, which I thought was just brilliant.
Yeah, walk us through that.
Think about the free newspapers you find on the bus or the metro. They aren't designed for deep, critical reading. They're specifically designed to be skimmed in about 5 to 7 minutes.
Which is exactly the length of a smoking break.
Correct. It's a quick hit. In the past, people on the bus might have done a crossword puzzle or Sudoku, things that require deep, sustained focus. But the feed has replaced all of that.
So it's just a cycle of next shift, next post, next video.
Exactly. We are literally training our brains to only focus for bursts of 7 minutes.
Or less, honestly. And physically, this constant stimulation has a massive cost. The source mentions that long-term stress can actually enlarge
The amygdala, yes.
Wait, it physically gets bigger?
Yes, like a muscle. Remember, the amygdala treats this constant checking as a form of high-alert surveillance. If your alarm system is constantly being triggered, the brain devotes more resources to it.
So it makes the smoke alarm in your head more sensitive.
Exactly. You become more anxious, more stressed, because your brain has physically adapted to a state of constant threat detection.
So we are literally reshaping our brains to be anxious, twitchy zombies.
That is the digital hijack in a nutshell.
Okay, I need some hope here. Please tell me the guest lecturer didn't just drop this bomb on Kesser and Steen and then walk out of the classroom. There has to be a fix.
There is a fix.
Yeah.
And strangely enough, it involves another sea creature in the brain.
We've had the almond, now we have a sea creature.
The seahorse. The hippocampus. In Latin, hippocampus means seahorse, which describes its shape. And this part of the brain is absolutely crucial for learning and memory.
Right, the source notes that damage here is devastating. Like you can remember your childhood, but you can't store any new information.
Exactly. But here's the good news. The hippocampus is also key to neuroplasticity. We can recode the brain. The habit researcher outlines a concrete 4-step guide to breaking this screen habit.
Okay, let's get practical. Let's save some attention spans. Step 1.
Step 1 is analyze the habit. You have to play detective. The lecturer asks, what is this habit actually satisfying?
Because it's never just, I like looking at my phone, is it?
Never. Is it boredom? Is it loneliness? The source asks a really pregnant question. Are you scrolling to see lives you aren't living?
Wow.
Yeah. You have to identify the underlying need, the actual hunger, before you can change the diet.
Scrolling to see lives you aren't living, that hits hard.
Okay, so once I know why I'm doing it, what's step 2?
Find a replacement. You can't just create a vacuum in your routine, you have to fill it. It's called positive reformulation.
Give me an example.
The example given is simple. If you have a bad habit of buying cookies every time you go shopping, don't just tell yourself not to buy cookies. Decide to take a walk in the fresh air instead.
Replace the sugar rush with an endorphin rush.
Exactly. Find a different, healthier reward mechanism.
Okay, step 3 sounds like the hardest one. Make a decision. This absolutely requires will. But the lecturer makes an important distinction here. It's not about scolding yourself. It's not about shame. It's about conscious choice.
Right.
The lecturer shares a personal story about realizing they were constantly reaching for the phone instead of books.
I related to that so much. I have a whole stack of books on my nightstand that are just gathering dust while I doom scroll until 1 a.m.
Same. So the lecturer's decision was to read just a little bit every night. Not to finish a novel in a day, but to reclaim the actual feeling of reading, to remind the brain that there are other ways to be stimulated.
Start small. I like that. And finally, step 4, commitment.
Or social contracts. It's basically the gym buddy principle. It is much, much harder to flake on a friend than it is to break a promise to yourself.
That makes total sense.
If you make an agreement with others, like, we are going to put our phones in a basket during dinner.
You leverage that same social pressure, but for good.
So it's analyze, replace, decide, commit. It sounds simple on paper, but when you're fighting an enlarged amygdala bouncer, it's a full-on war. It is a battle for agency over your own mind.
Now, I want to pivot back to our students, Kesser and Steen, because while this super heavy lecture is happening, they're having their own internal experience.
Right.
And honestly, this is where the deep dive gets really interesting to me. Their reaction isn't just, oh no, my brain is broken. It's this wild mix of cynicism and teenage existential dread.
They represent the generation that is actually living inside this experiment.
Yeah.
Kesser and Steen are listening to the lecturer, but their minds are wandering to AI, to reality, to the whole future of work.
There's this one moment where they reflect on deepfakes. They
Yeah.
look at each other with this absolute teenage confidence, thinking, we can spot a fake, we know it's real.
And then they think about a very specific video, a video of a small Japanese monkey.
Oh man, this part broke my heart. The monkey is missing its mother and it's just hugging a teddy bear.
It's an incredibly visceral image. And their ultimate question is it real? Or is it AI?
And the fact that they even have to ask that question.
That is the horror. The line between biological reality and digital fabrication, it's just totally gone for them.
And then Steen, who definitely seems to be the more cynical of the two boys, he goes on this mental tangent about the future of work. He's thinking about his dad.
Steen has a very pragmatic, almost ruthless view. He thinks his dad would actually prefer super skilled robots fixing the roads over what he calls lazy laborers.
That is a brutal take from a high schooler.
It is, but it reflects a broader social commentary found in the essays. There's a perception of a massive decline in pride in service jobs. The source mentions angry customers getting upset because a good offer at the grocery store was, quote-unquote, just a typo.
Right.
And because there's no actual staff to complain to anymore, the argument ends up happening right at the payment terminal.
Or, as the source notes, the argument completely moves from the physical store to social media. It's this toxic feedback loop. Bad service leads to anger. Anger leads to online ranting. Online ranting feeds the algorithm we just talked about.
And Steen makes this brilliant observation that people eventually just give up on the physical world entirely. They buy online and then just return the shit they don't want.
It's a total disconnection from human interaction. Everything is mediated through a screen.
Exactly.
But my absolute favorite part of their internal monologue, and this is where I think the digital hijack comes full circle, is the health paradox. Steen is thinking about his dad's smart sports watch.
The irony here is just delicious. The watch measures his steps, his heart rate, his sleep, and even reminds him to stand up.
It's supposed to make him healthier. It's literally marketed as the antidote to the sedentary lifestyle the screens caused.
But think about the underlying mechanism.
Yeah.
To track your health, you must look at a screen.
Yeah.
You have to check your phone or your watch to see how well you are sleeping.
You literally have to look down at a device to see where you are walking on the physical street.
It raises a really profound question that these students are grappling with. Is measuring your blood pressure multiple times a day and putting it into a spreadsheet for the doctor actually persistence? Or is it just a mania?
That is the ultimate catch-22. We are using the exact same technology that gives us a hole in the head to try and cure the problems that the technology caused in the first place.
We've outsourced our willpower to the same industry that stole it from us. We're asking the bouncer who let the bad guys in to somehow protect us from them.
It's a complete mess. So let's try to synthesize all this. We've gone from the amygdala's primal survival instincts being monetized by tech billionaires, all the way to the realization that even our attempts to get healthy are just another form of screen addiction.
If we connect this back to the bigger picture, it's overwhelmingly clear that we are in a state of severe biological mismatch. Our ancient hardware, the amygdala, the drive to horror, the need for social approval, is being mercilessly exploited by modern software.
But the takeaway shouldn't be hopelessness. The seahorse is still there.
It is. The hippocampus still works. We can learn new habits. We absolutely can recode the brain. But it requires actually stopping the autopilot.
It requires ignoring the bouncer for a second and listening to the librarian.
That's a really good way to put it. As the lecturer found with reading a little bit every night, the brain is plastic. It can change back. You just have to make the conscious decision to look at a book instead of a feed.
And maybe, just maybe, trust that you walked enough steps today without checking a spreadsheet to confirm it.
That would be true freedom.
Listeners, we want to know what you think. Do you feel the hole in the head? Have you successfully broken the loop?
Or are you listening to this while mindlessly scrolling through 3 other apps?
If you are, stop. Put the phone down. I mean, keep the deep dive playing, obviously, but put the physical phone down.
It's scientifically probable that your amygdala desperately needs a break.
We're going to leave you with one final thought today. We spend so much time worrying about AI robots coming to take our jobs. I mean, Steen's dad certainly thinks they might do a better job fixing the roads.
But based on the description of our own brains on social media conditioned, running on autopilot, reacting instinctively to inputs without any real free will.
Have we already become the robots?
That is the real question.
Thanks for diving in with us. See you next time. Can social media actually give you a hole in the head?